Check one, check two, check one, check two. We're about to get started. Sorry I'm a little late. Struggling on a Thursday. Struggling on a Thursday. Now let's get going. Pull up that article. How's everybody doing today? We're gonna get started here shortly. Let me know. Put some questions in the box if y'all want to talk about something different than what I'm gonna talk about. We can go either way. I'm cool with that. Let me bring up this quick article and we will definitely get started. Definitely gonna get started. Let's see how many we got in the box. We're gonna get started. I usually don't wait. Just kind of go with the flow. Just kind of go with the flow. So if you see the article, which is kind of, I guess, a little depressing. You got 8 big agencies that got a cybersecurity review, and basically the highest grade was a C minus, which for me is kind of crazy and unacceptable. So we're going to talk about that and just kind of go through some of the agencies and just kind of talk about it. Um, like I said, I guess it's quite obviously where we at in the world. So federal cybersecurity defense not strong enough to protect America's data, the Senate report warns. So if the government can't get it right, I guess the question is, can we get it right? I assume so, but let's talk about it. Like I said, I'm just going to look that up real quick to make sure it's showing up on my phone. Okay, then we're gonna get into it and chop it up about it. So once again, what's up, Game Over Salute? So we're gonna go over why the federal government is failing on their own cybersecurity checks. So let's kind of go over it. Then I did a quick slideshow, and if anybody got any questions, of course, just drop them in the box as we kind of go over it. So federal cybersecurity defense not strong enough to protect America's data. Federal agency responsible for safeguarding the security and personal data of millions of Americans have failed to implement basic defense against cyber attack. Right. So the federal agency that's responsible for safeguarding your data and our data has failed to implement basic security defense. Right. So when there it talks about the 47 pages, I actually cut those up and put those on the slideshow. We're just gonna hit those at a high level, but Black Scorpion, if you find your channel through Person Center Cyber, I appreciate it. Definitely high on my list of people I follow too. Enjoy your content. Currently working on a senior information security specialist. Always looking for news sources and material. Learn. Oh, most definitely, Black Cyber. I try to do the news. I do cyber security, known as STIGs. So I do like 4 things on my channel. But if you want to do something specific for a video, just drop it in the chat, and I'll definitely do it. Anything cyber security. Long story short, since you're new to the channel, a lot of people know this. I've been in the IT game for 35 years. I've been in cybersecurity for 12. I'm currently a senior security compliance analyst. So what does that mean? I help agencies report to the federal government. Right now, I'm on an assignment. I help an agency report to the IRS. So there are certain things we have to do for the IRS, from policies, procedures, checks from all your environment, scans to figure out what level your checks are at, depending on your system, web server, app server, development, SOC work, incident response, DR. So I've done a little bit of everything. Thanks, Maddox. I appreciate that. Maddox in the house. So welcome, Black Scorpion Fitness. On that fitness part, I need to get in shape. I'm getting old. But let's get back on the article. So the report also concluded that American personal information remains at risk in the wake of a slew of high-profile cyber attacks. Everybody knows we've been attacked. The audit accused 8 critical agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security, the State Department, Social Security Administration. They were relying on outdated systems, ignoring mandatory security patching, failing to protect sensitive data such as names, dates, social security numbers, income, birth dates, and credit cards. So once again, these are 8 of the biggest government agencies that actually failed a review by the government, right? So in 2020, the White House reported 30,000 information security incidents across federal governments. That's an 8% increase since 2019. So once again, in 2020, there was 30,000 security incidents across the government. Actually, I think that number is low. So some of the departments they evaluated, once again, Department of Transportation, Department of Housing and HUD, Department of Agriculture, Department of Health and Human Services, which is HIPAA, and the Educational Department. We know schools been getting just destroyed lately. So, according to the report, HUD top watching found an unauthorized shadow IT system on their agency. So somebody was running their personal business on the HUD servers. In the test of cyber defense, the State Department could not provide documentation of 60% of employees who had classified network information. Remember, so they weren't keeping track of 60% of the people that reports to them, right? So obviously that is a big security hole because if you're not tracking them, you don't know what rights and privileges those people have to the State Department network, right? That's the State Department. So once again, we're failing at cybersecurity. And that's why we need everybody to get on board with cybersecurity, get the bag, and let's help the United States of America. Department of Transportation and Inspector General have recorded over 15,000 IT access owned by the department, including 7,000 mobile phones, 5,000 servers, and about 3,000 workstations. Also, the agency failed to comply with statutory requirements to certify to Congress to have implemented certain cybersecurity requirements, including encryption of sensitive data, least privileges, and multi-factor authentication. So once again, the government's behind. So how are we going to protect ourselves against some of the top hacking nations on the planet? The review outlined failures to comply with, and we're going to talk about this later on, is Federal Information Security Modernization. It was called the FISMA Act of 2014. It was supposed to modernize the government, and part of that modernization was getting the cybersecurity piece right on the large organization. That's part of modernization, getting your security right. We know the Chinese state sponsor hack breached 5 federal agencies through vulnerabilities and products from the popular Utah company. Also from solar winds to from attacking our critical infrastructure. I'm just kind of flowing through the government-wide cybersecurity is highly federated. The committee added the federalization and balkanization of cybersecurity across federal agency has been a persistent problem. It's a problem, large part of why we've been such a performance issue at each of these agencies. So once again, we're failing as a government. So the government does a review every 2 or 3 years. I've actually was at DOD when they came and looked at the system we were doing, and they try to do a review to see where you at, and they give you a grade. So once again, the grade for these 8 big agencies was a C minus, right? So to me, that's almost flunking, right? When you're talking about cybersecurity and not having basic things like multi-factor authentication, basic things like not knowing where your employees and what privileges they have, just basic requirements from a cybersecurity hygiene standpoint. They have access to government contracts as well. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. All of that stuff have access because we're not doing cybersecurity. So I'm going to put the link in the description. I don't know if I put the 42-page report in there. I'll make sure I'll put that link in after the presentation. It's super short. So like I said, I just made a slideshow. Since I'm a professor in real life, I'm a big slideshow. So nothing super duper, just a basic slideshow. So this was the report. That was the title of it. So if you want to Google it, it's out there. Federal Cybersecurity, America's Data Still at Risk. Meaning if those big agencies fail, the smaller agencies have no chance, right? They're going to be toast. They're not going to they're not going to make it from a cybersecurity review, right? So when we looked at the report, once again, these are the big agencies that were listed in the report: um, Department of Homeland Security, State Department, Department of Transportation, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Agriculture, Department of Health and Human Services, which is HIPAA, the Department of Education, and the Social Security Administration. You would think Homeland Security is responsible for cybersecurity for the whole nation, right? So if they're struggling, everybody else is going to be struggling, right? So we know we're going downhill. So those are the agencies that the government had a cybersecurity review on, right? That actually failed. So this is actually coming from the 2019, and they're actually revisiting to see if we actually made progress. So from the 2019 report found similar vulnerabilities identified by the Inspector General across the 8 agencies. In short, seven agencies failed to provide an adequate protection of PII, personal identifiable information, social security numbers, your name and your address. How can somebody personally identify you or personally find you, right? Social security number, credit cards could be in that because their credit cards can be traced back to your name and your address, right? So that's PII, personal identifying information. Five agencies failed to maintain an accurate and comprehensive IT asset inventory. So that's still big today, right? So if you're a large organization and you got 30,000 computers, 12,000 phones, laptops, loaner laptops, it's just hard to keep track of that information. But if you don't know your assets, how do you know what to protect from a cybersecurity perspective? Right. So that's huge. So you got to know what you have to know what you can protect. Because I've seen organizations have computers that they forgot about that was accessible to the net. Why did they forget about them? They actually converted them to updated production system, and nobody decommissioned them and took them offline. Right. So that means they wasn't getting the updated patches. They wasn't getting the updated permissions, depending on how permissions were given. So that's where asset inventory comes in. 6 agencies failed to timely install accurate security patches and vulnerability remediation action designed to secure the application. So that's real big now, right? With the CVEs, and that's usually what hackers take advantage of. You didn't update your Tomcat, you didn't update your IIS, right? So now it knows what version you have, then it knows how to actually attack that particular version of that software, right? So if you do a lot of Qualisys scan, it's a free tool. You check in the SSL. If they don't lock it down, it'll tell you what version of the web server that you're scanning. So if it's a version that not been patched, you can actually look up that version, and then it'll tell you all the open vulnerabilities that you can take advantage of on that software and on that product, right? So that's where patching and security patching, and everybody's familiar with Patch Tuesday from Microsoft, right? So we definitely need to keep abreast on that. So once again, 6 of those 8 big agencies failed to do, I hate that term, basic cyber hygiene, right? Security patching. If you're not patching, then you're open to vulnerabilities. That's just an easy thing. Nothing super duper about it. That's the sad part. We're not doing the basic things to lock down the security of the United States of America, to be honest, right? All agencies use legacy systems or applications that are no longer supported by the vendor, with security patches resulting in cyber vulnerabilities for the system or application. Right? So it's so old, right? The vendor stopped supporting it, or you didn't upgrade to get the newer version, so the vendor can get you the security patch. Once again, basic security stuff we're not doing in these 8 big government agencies. So if those 8 big government agencies aren't doing them, the little ones are struggling too. So this was the grades for some of those departments. It looked at some of the departments underneath those big agencies, right? So those are the grades. So agriculture got a C, commerce got a D, education got a D, health and hospital got a C, DHS got a D, interior got a C, justice got a C, labor got a C, state got a D, transportation got a D, treasury got a D, and veteran affairs got a D. Welcome ease. I hope I'm saying you're right. Like, right, ain't that right? We're struggling, man. And the sad part about it is they probably graded this on last time they sucked. So this is probably on a curve, right? So once your class starts sucking, you start grading on the curve, right? So a lot of these C's and D's are probably F if you actually put them against the private sector in the United States. That's the sad part about it, right? So Department of Homeland Security, because 3 years ago I think they got a D, so they the only agency that actually vastly improved. But that's the agencies that's responsible for the cybersecurity of the whole United States, DHS, right? And they just got a B. You would think the person in charge would get an A. If you know what the test is and you're responsible for everybody else, right? You would think you would get an A, right? So I think we're failing across the board, right? For that, for the like I said, for those agencies, right? So that's the sad part is I don't think we're getting any better at cybersecurity. I think we're spending a lot of money on cybersecurity. I just don't think we're getting any better by doing the proper things. And we did videos and we talked about that, right? Zero trust, MFA, moving to the cloud is going to give you a different level of security because if you're on Amazon, Azure, or any of that, their infrastructure is already pretty locked down for you as a company, right? So you're responsible for your ad, right? These agencies are failing at the infrastructure level, right? So they're sucking. So let's look at some of the independent agencies. EPA a C, GSA a B. How NASA got a D? NASA's got some of the smartest people on the planet, man. We're sending rockets. We're working with Elon Musk to get to Mars. How's NASA getting a D, man? NSF, NRC, OPM, SBA, SSA, and USAD, right? So it's a lot of D's, and they got a few more B's, but as a government, we should only have A's and B's. People with B's should be treated like they're F. We're talking about cybersecurity, especially when you talk about infrastructure, right? The Colonial Pipeline got hacked, right? We had Americans putting gas in trash bags, so we got to help the Americans not put gas in trash bags, right? So we need to work on our cybersecurity. So the big agencies are struggling. They're supposed to be giving guidance to the United States, right? President Biden, I put it in there in his executive order, he told people to use zero trust network. He's saying us as the United States has to get better, and that's a priority. The cool thing I think is going to help all of us is I think the government's going to release a crazy amount of money for cybersecurity, for training, for patching, for helping infrastructure companies with products like proper SIEMs. I think they're going to give some money to AWS and Azure. And people familiar with the JEDI contract, it all went to Microsoft. I think they killed that. I think they're going to take that $10 billion. It was a $10 billion contract over 10 years. I think they're going to spread that out over a lot of cloud vendors, and I think they're going to drive down the cost of cloud vendors to help big government agencies get in there. I think any government agencies get to the cloud, and also help the private sector get to the cloud and pay for some of those services. Right. So, but that's my hope. Right. So we're gonna go through, like I said, a couple slides and just kind of drill down in it. If anybody got any questions about any certain things, just drop them in the box, and we'll go over it. And if it's something off topic, I'm cool with that too. I do these for y'all. So once again, we're gonna look at it. Agencies average grade was a C. All agencies have significant issues. Top of them, 6 agency has no ATO. I've been in the government for a long time. ATO is authority to operate. To get to an authority to operate an ATO, you have to have a ton of paperwork and a lot of testing. So for you to get that certified authority to operate, you got to have policies and procedures, I talk about the STIGs, and we're going to look at the STIG later on. The STIG is a specific check on a specific device to make sure that device is secure. So if you're on a web server, it would say you got to have so many ciphers. These are the ciphers that you can use, and you have to have encryption, right? So that would be a specific check on a time counter on IIS, right? Are you using TLS, right? 1.2 or higher, right? SSL been hacked, TLS 1.0 has been hacked, and I think 1.1's been hacked. So TLS, they usually say TLS 1.1 or higher. I always say TLS 1.2 or higher, right? So that's a specific STIG check to make sure your application is secure, right? So since they have no authority to operate, meaning they didn't go through the process to get their system certified and stamped that is secure, so those systems should never been brought online for them to operate, right, without getting signed off on by DHS, right? 7 legacy systems, no support, which means no patching, right? That was an article. 6 agencies lack updated security patches, rolls up into 2, no support, not patching, right? Not what's going on. 7 had no asset management, meaning people could be walking out with servers, laptops, phones from the government, right? You have no asset management, so how do you know what's going on? Where's your systems at? Has somebody stole the system? Because people used to steal servers before they put cameras in the data center, right? So it's stuff walking out the door with taxpayer information on it, with government information, with HIPAA, with your credit card information, right? There's a lot which falls into number 5. 7 fail to protect your PII. So if you're not doing security patches and you have no asset management and you're using legacy systems, then you can't pass 5, right? You fail to protect the information of the United States constituents, right? So that's simple. So once again, we're we're struggling as a nation, right? And some of the things from reporting agency and how we should operate. No single reporting agency. I'm cutting that off, but there's no single reporting agencies. So what does that mean? So if you're a hospital, you report to HIPAA. If you're doing some environmental stuff, you report to OSHA. If you're doing some DOD stuff, you report to FISMA. Right. So there's like 5 or 6 separate organizations you report to, depending on what agencies you're in and where you at. Right. Once again, overuse of legacy systems. C is Einstein Legacy. It's a logging system. It's outdated. It was done in the 70s and almost from the 60s, right? So if we can't get the proper logging, we can't figure out what happened. We can't chase down the bad guys, right? So once again, I put the article link in the description. And we failed to using key new cybersecurity tools. I wouldn't even call them new cybersecurities. MFA has been around forever. If you're on Amazon, they actually give you MFA for free. You click your device, put your phone number in, say what account you want to do it in. So when they log in with your admin, AWS is automatically going to call your phone before you come log in, right? A basic SIM. And now the big deal, the government is put out a zero trust. Zero trust is a framework and it has a ton of stuff to roll up to zero trust. And I've done 2 videos on that. So you can look in the stack and figure it out. So once again, I was surprised Biden mentioned that in his executive order he put out, specifically meaning that. The government from the past used something called FISMA. It stands for the Federal Information Security Management Act. It was done in 2002, ushered in the E-Government Act. So FISMA is one of the most important regulations for federal data security standards and guidelines. It was introduced to reduce security risks in federal information and data while managing federal spending on information sector to achieve the aim. FISMA established a set of guidelines. So that's how I'm going to read. So that was the past. That was FISMA 2002. It was the Federal Information Security Management Act with an M, Management Act. And the crazy thing, it was put out in 2002. It's 2021 and we still sucking. So are we getting any better? What's going on with that? like I said, so that's the sad part. We've been talking about cybersecurity from a federal level since 2002, and we still haven't gotten any better at it, right? So the current act is still called FISMA, Federal Information Security, but instead of management, they call it Modernization Act of 2014. Right, so it says President Barack Obama signed in 2014, passed as a response to increasing amount of cybersecurity attacks on the federal government, and amending the existing laws to enable the federal government to better respond to the attacks on department and agencies. Right, so that's the current. So you can look it up. I'm not going to go into it, but the reason I brought that up is 2014. Once again, we crystallized what we should do as a government and how we should treat cybersecurity and how we should protect department and agencies. But we're not getting any better. We have the same problems, right? We're not progressing, even though we keep signing documents, passing bills, and passing legislation. We're not getting better. But since I work in that industry and I've been on a couple big federal government contracts, it is very hard to make that happen. I was on a project with about 500 people, about 400 programmers in 5 different states. So when you do something that large and you start talking about cybersecurity and managing that and coordinate that and trying to figure out how to get security in each one of those areas and using the government's private cloud vendor, a lot of people don't know they have their own Amazon and Azure that's private to the government, right? They're trying to get away from that and go to other data centers because it's more economical. But I did this 20 years ago. There was no Amazon and Azure. They were just getting going, and they weren't approved for government work like they are now, right? So you had to work with those guys and work on that data and get that up and get that working, right? So, but once again, we putting out more bills and more things to try to get better. But for the guys and the women and people trying to get in this industry, it's open. Obviously, it needs help, right? But, and I'm not going to go off on the subject anymore. There's gatekeepers, right? So how do we get over the gatekeepers so we can get in the game, show our skills, and secure the bag, right? So obviously, everybody knows. I think there's 500,000 cybersecurity jobs that are open. So the question is, if they're open, why are they not getting filled, and why we're not training to get people available to get that in? What's up, Keep It Techie? Salute. I know everybody that's on my channel is probably subscribed to Keep It Techie, but that's the man, that's the guy I follow. He the one kind of brought me into the game. So if you're not on there, go subscribe to Keep It Techie. Salute. So once again, the government failed. We sucking. There's a lot of positions out there, especially in the cybersecurity. So my job, because I'm old, I'm in my 50s, is to help you guys get in the game, right? There's jobs that are non-technical that pay 6 figures. And I'm interviewing somebody next week in one of those jobs that's in cybersecurity, right? What is that job? Project management, right? They do the schedules. They tell you when to patch, how to patch. They tell Keep It Techie to update the Linux, but they don't know how to do that technically. They just keeping the charts to make sure the project is on schedule, right? So you get that I think it's PMP certifications, all those project management, and they just keeping schedules, making people coordinate. They getting requirements for the project, right? Because they have business analysts, right? So they just keeping notes and scheduling. They making 6 figure in cybersecurity, right? Because they're certified for that. That's a non-technical job that gets paid in cybersecurity, right? So that's some of the things that's available to us as a group, and how we move and how do we secure that type of work and get that type of work, right? I'll let you up there with me knocking. I'll be 54 this year, so I done broke down the door. I'm rolling downhill, so I'm with you. But yeah, so that's some things we're gonna talk about on our channel. Non-technical jobs that make 6 figures that are in cybersecurity. Like I said, I'm interviewing. I'm trying to lock it down. I'm gonna interview a PM. I hopefully Monday or Tuesday next week, right? Project management, right? She just keeps the schedule. I tell her what to do, then she comes back and tells me to hurry up. I'm like, right? So she doesn't understand the input of cybersecurity, even what that means as a program, right? But as a PM, she keeps the project on track, talks to the stakeholders, make sure the budget's correct, making sure we're online, right? Because to be honest, I don't want to do that, right? So, but I was amazed that they get paid six figures though. So at a high level, we talk about NIST. I'm a federal guy, so NIST at a high level is National Institute of Technologies and Standards. Part of their job used to be weights and measures, but now they're in technology, neutrons, Bitcoin, right? It's the federal standards for all that. And one of the standards that NIST does, of course, is cybersecurity, right? So that's just one of the standards. And part of that, the NIST family, right? We're going to get up in there. Is we're going to look at the top 20 NIST families over cybersecurity at a high level. Is these are what those eight agencies should be looking from a cybersecurity family, what they should be going over, right? Field affairs holding most of us back. Yeah, I'm working I'm working the CISA Plus, then the CISP as my goal for the remainder of the year. Those are big goals, man, and I'm sure you can hit them. I need to get on that. I don't even have my CISP. I have a Security Plus. I've been in the game so long, most people don't ask me for certs. Um, since I've been doing this so long. But being honest, I haven't interviewed in the last. Well, I interviewed last year, but the last two jobs I had, people invited me to come work, so I haven't really actually interviewed for a job really in 20 years. Like another friend of mine is trying to get me to come to another DoD federal project, so I think I'm gonna do that. But no, I need to get my certs up, and everybody, needs to make 2020, 2021 years of the cert. So I'm actually working on the cloud security professional. Then I'm gonna do the AWS practitioner. Then I'm gonna study for the CISP. Then I'm hoping to go for the AWS architect. That's kind of my personal goals for 2022. I'm sorry, 2021, leading in 2022. Long story short, the pandemic, I've just been staying at home and eating. I need to get my fitness on, but those are my goals. So if we look at a high level, those are the NIST families. So as a government security project, all those cybersecurity checks you put on Linux, AWS, IIS, Tomcat, those checks rolls up to these families. So we're just gonna go through them super quick. So this is NIST revision, NIST 800-53 to be exact, revision 5. The families are access control, awareness and training, audit and accountability, assessment, authorization and monitoring, configuration management, contingency management, identification and authorization, incident response. So if you get hacked, right, your incident response team should be already assembled, mobilized, tested, and ran through a couple scenarios. Maintenance, media protection, physical environment and protection, data center, webcams, Hayline in your data center, right? Planning, program management, that's the PMP. They get their own for personnel management. If you're on a federal contract, depending on the level, you got to do an FBI background check, fingerprints if you're a top secret level, right? Personal security, PII processing and transparency. That's just something new they just put in this revision 5, right? So we're going to specifically talk about what data you have in there. Do you have it identified? Are you tracking where it's at? So they gave it its own security family this year, which I thought was unique. Risk assessment. You heard people getting attacked by fish tanks and HVACs, right? So risk assessment. You need to do a risk assessment of any piece of software touching your network inside a building, no matter how innocuous you think it is, right? System and service acquisition. So what are you buying? Keeping track of your contractor. System and communication protection. System and information integrity. And the last one going along with risk assessment is specifically supply chain risk management. Because Caseus and Solar Winds was specifically supply chain, right? It was a third party who bought software from their third party, who put a rat or malware inside their software. They got connected to your data center. They got those big government agencies hacked, right? So supply chain risk management, the last one on there, my little face is covering half of it, but that's a specific emphasis the governments are trying to make happen. Maddox, I'm trying. I got good goals, man. But I'm old. At 50, sometimes it's hard to study, man. I don't remember. I don't remember like I used to, Maddox. I don't memorize like I used to. So as we're gonna drill down, real quick. We're not gonna delve into. I got a video on NIST and STIGs and what they look like, so we're just gonna touch on. So each one of those control families gets drilled down into more detail, right? We talk about cybersecurity, right? I always says NIST is at the 30,000 foot level now, right? Now we talk to the sub control family, so now we're gonna go from 30,000 level to 20,000. So this was the AC was access control. So part of the AC breaking down that family is AC1 is policies and procedure. AC2 is account management. Part of account management is system account management, temporary and emergency account management. How do you quickly disable somebody's account? Inactivity. If they have not logged in for 60 days, are you locking their account? Are you deleting their account? Privileged accounts, right? So if you're an admin, if Keep It Techie, that's my guy. He's always gonna be root privileged account. So I gotta keep an eye on Keep It Techie because if Keep It Techie's account gets hacked, we toast because he's the root, he's the god on the box, right? So we got to keep track of privileged accounts on the box. They're separate, right? Dynamic accounts. I don't let people have dynamic accounts, but sometimes people create accounts to do short-term work and delete the accounts. I don't think that's more secure because if that procedure gets hacked, then I can randomly create a dynamic account. For me personally, I don't let people have dynamic accounts. So restrictions on shared and group accounts. There's some software like Oracle and Tomcat. There's a Tomcat users and you share that among admins on your server so they can do work. Right, so Keep It Tech is the Unix guy. So I'm gonna make you sudo to the Tomcat work. I'm gonna make you log onto yourself. I'm gonna make you switch users so you can do your admin work. But I can log everything that your user account does with that super account, right? Behind the scenes, I'm logging every action you do. Why? I'm security and I don't trust very well. Right? So that's what those subfamilies help you do and drill down into those security families. So when the United States say they failed cybersecurity check with a C minus, this has been out for 20 years. So obviously you're not doing the 30,000 and the 20,000 foot thing NIST is asking you to do as a government agency, right? So that's one reason we're failing. So who's responsible for those agencies, right? They're not following the things they should do, right? And I'm still talking about that's 30 to 20,000. We're still at a high level, right? Because we're talking about privilege accounts, but we don't talk specifically what should you do for those privileges account, right? So if we talking Windows, we got group policies and those GPOs we specifically set after 30, 90 days of inactivity that's going to lie, right? Password policies are from DOD. Your password has to be of 14 characters, 2 upper, 2 lower, right? So those are some requirements I know at a federal level that you have to implement, right? So part of the implementation details of that is called STIG. It stands for Security Technical Implementation Guideline. It's a configuration standard kit consisting of a cybersecurity requirement for a specific product. The STIG enables methodologies or security protocols within network servers, logical designs. Its job is to enhance security for software, hardware, and logical architecture, right? So the STIG from a DoD level tells you specifically what you need to set on your network server to make it secure. There's no guessing, right? That's why I'm a STIG guy. It is extremely hard to do, right? I always tell people it's not for the weak of heart, right? But obviously we're losing, so we need to do something different, right? I feel like we get hacked or a company gets hacked every week. You know, it's been gas, JBS, every agency. They done hacked AWS and Azure to get the emails for federal agencies, right? So we need to do this. And I try to blow it up, but it's still pretty tight. So this is one of the STIG check. I was doing something in, I think this is Docker. I'm trying to get my containerization up for security. That's the big step. So from a STIG check, it says the STIG vulnerability 94867. If you look at the top, it says it's a Cat 1, meaning this check, if not closed, it's been open in a while and people's been attacking people, right? So it tells you specifically what to do. So it says runtime FIPS mode must be enabled on all Docker engines and enterprise nodes. The discussion when FIPS mode is enabled on the Docker engine, The enterprise code, it uses FIPS validated cryptography to protect confidential information to the account to TCP socket with TLS enabled and configured, right? So it's letting you know if you're running a web server inside a Docker, it has to be a TLS, it has to be a 1.2. FIPS basically means the government opened it up and looked at it and made sure it was properly doing what you think it should be doing for encryption. Right, that's it at a high level. That's what FIP is. So FIPS. So when I tell people I want to use a STIG, I can actually pull up the STIG and it's going to tell you. The check test to check applies to the Docker engine. Verify FIPS mode is enabled to the host system. Executes the following commands in Docker to make sure this is on. Right. So it tells you how to check to make sure it's on. If it's not on, it tells you how to actually put the check on. Right, so that's why I'm a STIG guy. Right, STIGs are hard. That's why I'm trying to bring them to the community. At least be able to look at whatever you use it and validate. You understand what check is, and even if you cannot put that check on, what does that do? You understand the risk of not applying that check. Even if you're going to accept that risk, it tells you what that risk is, and the category tells you the vulnerability and the risk of that being hacked, right? Cat 1 means out in the wild, you got to lock it down. Cat 2 means, and it's a bell curve, a few Cat 1s, a whole bunch of Cat 2s. And Cat 2 says it's out there, hit a lot, but this is what you need to secure it down. If not, you can use a compensated control, meaning if you don't want to do it that way, you just got to document how else are you going to lock that particular feature down, right? So when the government tells me we have these 8 agencies that can't lock down, I'm like, we got bills, we got frameworks, we got policies. We've been doing this for 20 years, so why are we having problems locking down this big information? So I just put the biggest one on there. I'm not going to make this a long one, and I'm actually going to wrap it up. But the big one is Department of Homeland Security. And once again, I'm going to put the report in the description box. So you better bring it up. It wasn't too long. It's 48 pages. I'm kind of weird. I'm dyslexic. I'm OCD. I read 1,000 pages of reports like this probably every couple of weeks from big agencies. So DHS statutory mission is to prevent and reduce vulnerabilities of assistance attacks in the United States. DHS described its mission as the duty to ensure honor and integrity, where we saw safeguard the people, homeland, and our values. The 6 cores of that is countering terrorism and homeland security threats, securing U.S. borders. This is the big one. Securing cybersecurity and critical infrastructure, and preserve prosperity and economic security. So the big one is that cybersecurity and critical infrastructure. Is that they just went from a C to a B in the last 2 years, right? Which is for me is unacceptable as somebody who's been in the business and been in the game as long as this. Working with some of the people I worked at DoD, those guys were phenomenal. So to see 8 big agencies really fail, I mean, a lot of them got D's. I mean, we the top educated people, I guess, in the United States. You would think. Um, so that's really all I got. Throw any more questions in the box. I'm just kind of wrapping up to see why we were failing and see what was going on. So that's all I wanted to do. Once again, we were averaging a D. I'm gonna put the report in the box, and that's pretty much all I got. Once again, there's 500,000 cybersecurity jobs. There's some I wanted to throw in there. I think he's in there. And I hear that a lot was he might have deleted the imposter syndrome. People get nervous when they get promoted. That's true. But as you get in the industry, the thing I just want to relay is I've been on projects with 400 or 500 people. I work on a lot of big government projects. I interface with some of the top guys in the United States. Definitely some of the top guys in the United States. I worked on huge projects, like I said, 400 or 500 people. It's a bell curve. You're going to have 10% of those guys are superstars, man. They doing stuff I couldn't comprehend, moving data I couldn't amass, DBAs that are off top notch. I'm trying to get some of those guys on my show. You're gonna have 10%. I'll take that. 20% of people, they getting hookups. Somebody's brother's the president, somebody's 20% of the project, especially a large project, they're doing jack. They're just relaxing. They're getting a check, but they got the hookup. Shout out to the hookup. Um, 20 plus 70% of the people are gonna be average. Some of them, they're gonna be good at a certain subject, but they're gonna be average. So don't have imposter syndrome. Don't be nervous. You got the network. You can reach out to Keep It Techie, Cyber Center. There's a lot of Dewan, Network Bruh. There's a ton of guys out here. If you reach out to me with a particular question or issue you having, I'm gonna reach out to my Rolodex for you guys. You guys support me, so my job is to support you. So if you get stuck in a spot and you have problems with something, I got one of the top Linux guys coming on. We're gonna talk about different stuff, rooting, logs. So it's just SO to the hookup. Oh yeah, shout out to the hookup. I'm trying to get my hookups up. I got a few hookups now because I've been in the game long and people know how I work. So they'll call me and be like, "Hey, we got a spot open for you." But I'm just telling you, even without the hookup, when you get on those, most of those, if you pass your certs and you lab every day and you grind every day, 70% of those people aren't going to be better than you. You might be in the middle of the pack, but those guys aren't super duper, man. Those guys are making mistakes. So I try to tell you guys, and I work with those guys, a ton of those guys. Those don't have imposter syndrome. If you get there, you deserve it. The Most High blessed you with that. You just got to reach out to your network. That's all. So don't have imposter syndrome. Don't be nervous. I understand you're gonna be nervous, but dude, just get in the mix. And two now is who was 50? What's up with my man? Oh, Les G. Shout out to Les G. Me and Les G. It wasn't no Google, man. When I first got my first IT job in 1984, 86, there was no Google. I'm laying on my stomach looking at manuals. You had to pick up the manual and read the book. There was no Google. There was no Reddit. There was no Discord server where you can correspond with people. There wasn't none of that. Half the stuff you Google, people are already running those problems. So it's not like you're not creating a new neutron or no, you're not trying to go to Mars. Most of the stuff you're gonna run into from a cybersecurity perspective and an IT perspective, somebody already ran into it, and that fix is out there somewhere. And two is most software that's part of the maintenance. Just put in a ticket. I've done Oracle for I'm old for 25 years. I just put a ticket in the Oracle. I'm like, dude, I can't figure it out. I just put a ticket in the Oracle. So you young guys, middle guys, ain't no imposter syndrome. That's not on my channel. You got so many resources. You got so many people you can reach out to. And the guys, fellas, ladies, we gonna help each other. That's one reason I came to the net. That's one reason I came to YouTube. I hope to get monetized. I hope to make a little dinner money. I like to eat well, but if I don't, I'm cool with that. I came here to help people because I know the game. I know some of its hookups, setups, gatekeepers. I came here to help people get around that, right? And two is there's a ton of jobs out there that people need to get to make a good living. I'm about feeding your family, feeding the people you love. Then we can help the United States on the way too. We can help everybody. So we can make it a group hug. I finally broke mine. I had a bag phone too. I think I got my bag phone in. Let's see. I graduated from college in 90. So I got my bag phone probably in 95 when I started making a little real money. So yeah, I had a bag phone. Y'all need to Google that. My phone was the size of a laptop in a bag. So yeah, and two is the beautiful thing is now is you can laugh. You can spin up. I'm about to spin up us, and I'm gonna put it on my channel. I'm gonna spin up some labs on AWS, some VPCs networking. I'm gonna spin up Apache and Tomcat because I'm a Linux guy. I'm gonna spin up a STIG compliant Amazon Linux 2.0 server, right? And we're gonna run through the scenarios of what that look like from security, zero trust, which is controlling network traffic east to west. How do you do that on Amazon? How do you validate that you did it? There's, like I said, there's so many channels and so many ways people are helping you. Right now, I'm naive. There's a couple gatekeepers or people trying to block you from getting those jobs, but there's so many jobs open for you to try to get, right? So we just got to get certified and get our labs on, so we're knowledgeable, so we can get in the game. Like I said, I came here to help people. I'm gonna talk about one of the things my channel focuses on is federal compliance. Why do I do federal compliance? Is those are where a lot of jobs are with the government. Those jobs pay everywhere, and the other setup to that is I do federal work, but I do it from a consulting company that I work through, so my pay's better, right? Sometimes the state and the government doesn't pay well, but if you master NIST, you master STIGs, you master FISBA, you master HIPAA, you master OSHA, and how that whole federal government process works, especially with where we at, you're going to get paid because a lot of people don't understand federal compliance. Right. So even if you're doing Linux, the government wants you to lock it down a certain way, right? So China can't get it to a Russia. So what does that mean when you say federal compliance, right? So that's one thing my channel is going to focus on. And if you look back in there, I have a playlist and it talks about STIGs and government stuff. So I talk about different technologies and how the STIGs look and how it would look, right? That's from my professor level. I do teach at a local college, so I'm actually a real professor for a lot of people who are new on my channel. But the other piece of that is we're actually going to set up labs so we can actually set it up and validate that, so we can figure out what does that look like in real time and real life. So if anybody doesn't have any questions for me, I'm going on about an hour 20. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like I said, I was kind of, I guess, disappointed that all our big government agencies were getting C's and D's. Like, we only got one, they got a B, but that's the one that should get an A because it's telling the other agencies how to do it. So if you can't do it and get an A, how you going to tell the other agencies how to do it? I don't know. That's my 2 cents, fellas. If anybody doesn't have anything else, like I said, I'm going to stay on for a couple minutes. If anybody doesn't have anything else in the Dropbox, ProfessorBlackOps, Cybersecurity for the People. Please subscribe. Yep, learning government policies and procedures. If you look at that NIST document, if you Google NIST 800-53, revision 5 just came out this year. It'll walk that through you, Let's. And if you look back on a couple of my videos, I did a NIST overview, and I'm going to do another one. I did that on revision 4. Revision 5's come out. They added a couple new security families. So I'm actually going to go through that and chop it up. And 2 is I'm actually, when I go live, I'm actually going to have a Q&A maybe one day a week. So if anybody want to come up, I'm going to drop a link if you want to chat on live. So I'm going to drop a link, then y'all can come up if y'all got some specific questions online, or we can just chop it up face to face. So I am going to start dropping a link one day a week in the future. So that's one thing I'm going to add to my channel. So I think that's it for me. Once again, I'm gonna make sure I get the that 47-page URL in the description box, so you can go out there and read it. Once again, we're failing. There's spots for everybody. Let's get the job and get the bag. Happy Thursday, everybody. Have a great weekend.